Welcome back to Notch EV. Here we are in sunny New York City, home of crazy people, marble rye, black and white cookies, bacon, egg, and cheese. And we're going to talk about EVs today. And is it possible and should you switch and buy an EV if you live in New York? We got a Tesla right behind me. Oh my God. What is that? We got an Acura. Is that the Acura EV? Let me give you my opinion on if you think you should switch to an EV if you're living in a big city. And let's just go through the whole thing. And hopefully at the end, you can make an educated decision on if it's right for you. EV adoption is really growing in New York City. And you're seeing more and more EVs. So everything that's going on, I'm talking to you in late September 2025. Everything is going to be changing and getting easier and easier for EV drivers, in my opinion. All politics aside, living in a dense city, the more EVs that we have here, the more enjoyable our life is going to be from a noise and air quality perspective. I think one of the main concerns people have about owning an EV in a big city is the ability to charge and refuel. Something to be aware about in New York, Manhattan specifically, is there's not a lot of gas stations. There's less than 30 gas stations here. So fueling up a gas car within Manhattan is actually not that easy either. And when it comes to level 2 charging, then we have way more charging options than you would have gas options. I don't think you need to be nervous about range. That shouldn't be something that concerns you too much about owning an EV in New York. I think what you need to make sure is you are aware of what you want to do with the car. And you know, that goes for buying a gas car as well. But I do think it's a little bit more important when you're buying an EV, because you can buy something like a Bolt, a Chevy Bolt, which is going to not cost you a lot of money. And we all know that doesn't charge very fast. So you could drive that around the city for hours and then come back and park it in your garage if you have one that has charging, and then slow charge it overnight. And that is, for that person's use case in this scenario, that's actually going to be a million times easier than a gas car, and cheaper by a long shot, because gas in New York City is not cheap and it's not easy to find. Then of course there's the street parkers in New York. They exist, and I see Teslas in my neighborhood that street park. And we actually have a Revel fast charger just 3 blocks from my apartment. And so I'm assuming a lot of people that street park maybe charge there. And that's actually not that hard. But if you're going to street park and use an EV in New York, I would say that you should try to do your charging to arrive back into the city, into your area, around 50% battery. And that way you could then let your battery sit at 50% in your parking space on the street until you then use it again. And then that's enough battery to get you out of the city and get you to a decent like area where you can charge again. And you'd be good. The Uber driver scenario, where you drive around all day in an EV on slow roads around the city. But in that case, you could be using your lunch break and random points of the day to do some fast charging. Like if you're out at the airport, then it's not that hard to get in a charge break at that point. But EVs, there's an EV mandate going on for Uber drivers, so they're all going to be switching to EVs, I think by 2030, something like that. But the point being in mentioning that is that the EV charging situation is not static, and neither is the gas situation. because the way it looks right now is that we will be opening more and more EV charging stations, and the gas stations will be dwindling even more as well. So as time goes on, all these things are gonna change in the favor of electric. These fears should be shrinking as these problems are being solved over and over. The third scenario I have is more in line with how I drive an EV in the city, which is mostly parking it at my house and then using it on weekends to get out. This is what my garage looks like. Just come in here and you park, and the valet will then move the car. Since I have a charger here, I try to come home as low as possible so that I get the good free charge on the chargers they have here on the wall. Oh, loud motorcycle. But this is kind of what you can expect in a New York City garage. You got all your electric cars charging. You can charge, they'll plug it in for you. And there's lots of them around. And basically, you don't get to stay plugged in all the time like you would if you just had your own garage. But you get your battery to a good percentage for being in storage for a week, let's say, before you drive again. Or if you obviously a daily driver, you'd come in here and get them to charge it to full every time. But I'll get it charged up to 50, and then I'll have them move it. And then when I know I'm going to be leaving, I'll get it charged up to full the night before, or 80%. This scenario I think is the easiest for adopting an EV. The bottom line is, in every scenario, I think getting an EV is worth it, because I personally think that it's more fun to drive an EV. But I fully understand that some people are going to be put off by having to charge and the minor inconvenience that gives you. But bottom line is, if you have a charger available to you at a parking space in a big city, then just go for the EV. It's going to save you money and time. If you don't have a charger, then it's something you should think about more specifically for yourself and what you can put up with. But I'll let you know that if you're going to be leaving the city and that's your main drives that you do, then you're going to be able to fast charge outside of the city, and it's actually not going to be a big deal. And the inconvenience of that, I think, will be made up for by how much more enjoyable EVs are to drive, how fun they are, and really how, if you switch, you might find yourself like me, who fell in love with EVs. EVs are literally everywhere now in New York City. You have a hard time going a few blocks without seeing a Tesla. And I would have said, like 3 years ago, to just get a Tesla if you were going to get an EV. But public charging networks have come so far since then, and Tesla has also opened up superchargers. So you can get almost any car now and have a good experience with an EV. You can see by the license plate, this is a taxi and limousine commission Tesla. That's what the TLNC is. And the license plate ends with T, or starts with T and ends with C. Those are the Uber and Lyft drivers. I literally can't get away from EVs. We got an X right there. Right behind it, I see a Lucid, it looks like. Hold on, let's go closer. Yeah, we got a nice Lucid here. I actually barely ever see those around. And then we have the X. And then just like right on this block over here, I see a Model Y sitting right here. It's a sign to me of the adoption going up. A few years ago, you wouldn't have seen this many EVs, and now they're everywhere. And I don't think that should be something that makes you worry that chargers are going to be busy. I think that should make you feel like the times are changing and we're going to start to see the infrastructure catching up. thank you for watching, and if you have any questions about owning an EV in New York, please leave it in the comments, or just let me know anything you think I might have missed, or if I can help bring any extra information to life about that. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to bring you more content soon.